What is up, guys? Welcome to this beautiful video. I just had an interview with one of my clients, Sufyan, earlier today, where we talked through his journey over the last 2 months. Reason being is because we achieved a pretty solid result, which is that he went from $10,000 in the month of August to $50,000 in personal take-home profit within about 4 weeks of working together. So we basically 5x'd the amount of money he was making within about 4 weeks, which is pretty fucking cool. We started working together on the 28th of August, 2025, and in the following 20 to 25 minutes, you'll be able to see the whole conversation between Sufyan and myself, where we go over his main takeaways, what the biggest changes were that he made to be able to actually achieve this result. So you can watch through this, you can take away the value, you can get a bit of insight as well into what we're specifically doing with our clients. And without any further ado, let's jump straight into it. Obviously, we've been working together for, I think at this point, around about 8 weeks. We started towards the end of August, if I have that top of mind the right way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think, 30th of August, something like that.
Easy. Now, we started around the 30th of August. How much money were you making at that point in time?
Bro, so I was making like 15,000 Australian at that time.
So that's like 10,000 USD or?
Yeah.
Okay. So around the end of August, you were making about 10,000 USD or 15,000 in Australian. Now, today, at the time of recording this, we have the 22nd of October. How much money are you making this month?
Bro, so I'm taking home about 75K Australian or about 50K US.
I love that, bro. So you basically 4 to 5x'd how much you're making within the first 4 to 6 weeks of working together.
Yeah, basically.
I love that. Bro, I have an interesting question for you, because your result is a pretty solid one, I would say. What do you feel makes you different comparatively to other people, right? Like, how could you have that massive growth in that short period of time?
I think that I think for a lot of people, they kind of view business as something they have to do and something they procrastinate on doing. I feel like, and I don't know if a lot of people relate to this, but I feel like for me, business is kind of like the equivalent of playing video games, where as a kid, I'd wake up and immediately I just want to, like get to the PS4 and just start cranking away some Minecraft or something. And so that drive is the same drive I have now to do business. And so, whether it's like 5 minutes after waking up or like till 1 a.m. in the morning, I just kind of keep working because it's just enjoyable. And I feel like a lot of, and the other factor of that is the fact that I feel like even when things are slightly uncertain, whether, this is the conversation we had at the start of, on our first call together, and I was like, should I switch into consulting? Should I switch into AI? And you're like, listen, anything can work. You just have to kind of be consistent at it for long enough. And I was serious. I was very, very serious about pivoting away from doing this and starting on something completely brand new. And I think the fact that I just kind of stayed and kind of kept going down this path and really that's when I think the magic starts to happen, when you just kind of continue to go down, even when it doesn't logically make sense to you. Because by the time that, you're you're 5 months in, everyone who is not here with you quit 5 months ago, and now there's more there's less competition at the top, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
So it's really like a thing of sticking with it, right? And being, if I understand that right, like those 2 points, consistent and sticking with one thing. And the second thing is kind of seeing it as a video game and just like having the drive to like wanting to do it every day and getting to it right away when you wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
So just to rewind quickly, bro, we started end of August. Now it's mid-October. Within 4 to 6 weeks, you went from about 10K in USD to about 50K in USD in profit, that is. So that was the journey so far. You said biggest things that led to you getting there was consistency, as well as the drive and hunger to go ahead and do it every day.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That makes sense. I'm always keen to hear this, bro, because I personally feel like your life changes the most when you're getting into the multi 5 figures in profit consistently every month, because then you can basically do whatever you want to do, financially speaking, pretty much. So how has your life changed within those 4 to 6 weeks? Like when you were starting, doing about 10,000, 15,000 in Australian or USD, whatever you want to call it, what was your life like then?
So, I mean, honestly, I live a pretty simple lifestyle. I don't really go out all that much. I don't do all that much. I'm not a very flashy guy. I mean, you can look at the shirt I'm wearing. It's not it's nothing crazy. And so going from like 15 to like 50K or like 15 to 75K, honestly, it doesn't feel real yet, but I think lifestyle wise, it hasn't changed dramatically.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I do want to just spend money, it's just such a lighter mental load, right? And I tell this to my friends, but at like 15K a month, when you've got like 150 shots at spending $100 bill, right? But then at like 75K a month, you've got 750 shots, and so you can like $100 starts to feel light in your hands. And I think that was like having just like I don't spend $100 at once a lot, but just being able to do that is just really nice. I can just go to restaurants and pay. Like we had a client interview a couple days ago, last week actually, and I just paid for the whole dinner, and it was like $600, but it felt so light in my hand to just pay for the whole table like that. And so it was. It's just it's quite a blessing to be able to be in a position where where money feels light, and I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's just money feels light, and that's probably the whole goal of financial freedom, right? It's not about buying a bunch of stuff. It's just about having the ability to buy a bunch of stuff.
That's right. I always like to take this as reference, but back when COVID, for example, happened and everything was locked down, I think in Australia, maybe also in New Zealand, it was extremely, it was done in an extreme way. Back when that happened, the issue wasn't that you had to stay in, the issue was you couldn't get out, like if you even wanted to. And that's like the worst feeling ever, like wanting to do something, but you're not able to because of this outside circumstance. So that makes sense. Money feels light now. That's a good way to put it. I like that, bro. And you're a very humble guy. I know that. You're, bro, at the same time, like when I'm thinking about this, it's you, at the end of the day, never really end up getting to where you want to be. Like now you're making 75K Australian or 50K USD this month in profit. Now we want to get to 200, 300, etc. So like you never really stop striving for things, but the first initial phase where you start making more money and the financial load isn't hard to take anymore, like you kind of don't care. It's a really good feeling to have. So yeah.
Yeah. I think another big factor is just the fact that like I can just buy, like I don't buy a lot of expensive stuff for myself. I find it hard to spend like, $700 on a monitor, but I'll spend like 2K on jewelry for my girl, and it's just like, okay, cool, here you go. So being able to just like provide your partner with really nice experiences, and that not feeling heavy, it's a real blessing.
I get that, bro. I can relate to that. Like you see with me as well, like this is like a 20 euro Zara thing. It doesn't even fit me anymore. I never really buy stuff for myself. I couldn't care less, to be honest. The only thing I like spending money on is experiences. But like number one is family. So I can relate to that a lot. What do you feel were like the technical changes that we were able to make that led to this result for you?
So I feel like after I think one of the biggest reasons I wanted to work with you was because, and I said this at the start of our call, I'm like, I really just want accountability. I just want to kind of be directed, because that I feel like was a massive thing for me. The fact that I could just go and waste time and that be okay, or there'd be a list of things to do and I just wouldn't get them done. And so I think having a plan of action to kind of go back and revisit every week, and I like was really useful. And also because I get so stuck in the trenches all the time, right? Like I'm a very systems orientated. I want to just fine tune every single thing, and then I think you kind of come out and be like, "Yo, what are we doing with your brand? Like, how are we getting more clients?" And I'm like, I can't even think about new clients. You're like, well, and so I think being having someone who can kind of see the bigger picture and being like, okay, cool, this little thing you're working on is nice, but we got to think about everything all together. And so, yeah, like the whole interview that I went down to Gold Coast for, I think that was just something that, we came up together with, and then I probably wouldn't have done that. And that probably is going to land me some pretty decent clients coming into the future. But yeah, it just wouldn't have been the case if I didn't, decide to come and, work together.
That makes sense. Can you talk about what you did going to the Gold Coast quickly, where you did the client interview? Like, what did you do there? What happened?
Yeah. So we booked at this like super nice villa, like on the beach side, had this beautiful glass panel going across the wall. I went to go shoot an interview with one of my clients, who were on track for record months with, and so it's pretty exciting stuff. We also took my client and my sales manager out for dinner. That was pretty cool, and then obviously that's the dinner I was talking about. And so yeah, we're going to be using that interview basically to hopefully land some more clients. And then while I was there, I got this ad for this sales conference that was happening 2 days after my flight back to Melbourne. And this is the cool part about having money. I just spent a bunch of money on Airbnbs and then tickets. I will go back to Melbourne. On the day I'm going back to Melbourne, I'm booking a flight for 2 days later, and like flights and accommodation for 2 days later to go back to the Gold Coast for another day, and then to come back the next day so I can go attend this conference. And so like that felt like, obviously, like I think someone going on a holiday, I think even like a normal person going on a holiday or even just traveling would have to think like maybe 10, 20 times before going in the first place. But then to kind of be able to go back again just so quickly and so casually, I think was, it's pretty cool.
That's fucking amazing. You mentioned your client is on track for record months. You don't have to talk about the offer, who the client is, these things. We won't disclose any of that. How much money did you collect for that client this month so far?
Bro. So we've collected over $500,000 this month for our client, which is just insane to me, considering that like maybe over 2 months ago we were only doing like 50K with them. So yeah, it's just an insane jump.
So you basically 10x'd the revenue of that client in 2 months.
Yeah, I guess so. And I would say profit, honestly, because that was almost like 98% off organic.
That's amazing. The profit margins are in that case very high as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's sick. I know that we're going to have a lot of success moving forward, bro, because we now have such a good foundation. Like this early struggle phase where you're, struggling to get clients is over now, because with that one case study, like literally just that, and you have other ones, right? Just that one, bro, like you don't need more proof. If you go talk to someone who's making 30, 40, 50K and you tell them, look, bro, like I've done this with my client, they cannot argue with that. It's facts, numbers, and data, and it's going to make us and you primarily, obviously, a lot more money in the future, which is really amazing. One thing I also want to say here, obviously, is that although we worked together during those 2 last months, and we're going to continue to work together on these things, obviously that result, you can attribute that to the way you execute it, right? I was there holding you accountable. I was there making sure that you look at the big picture and act on the things that actually matter. But at the end of the day, the reason you got this result is 98% because you executed on these things. And I'm very proud of you for that. So all kudos to you there.
I appreciate that, man. And I mean, yeah, I think you kind of undercredit how much of a role you play. I remember, like I'd be stuck on this problem, and I'd be stuck on this problem, but I have this question. And I'm like, who do I go to talk to about this? And I was like, oh yeah, I can go talk to Elias. And then I'm saying that out loud to my partner, and she's like, oh, it's so good that you have Elias in your corner. Like, you can just go talk to him about anything and just get that all solved up, can't you? I'm like, yeah, it's it's nice to have someone ahead of the game, kind of, kind of talking back to you and course correcting whenever necessary. So, yeah.
I appreciate that a lot, bro. I appreciate that a lot. Do you feel, I have a question for you that, bro, like, over the last 2 months, what was the biggest thing you've learned?
I think probably the biggest thing I've learned is that I think business is always hardest at the beginning. Just always. I remember working like almost a year ago in this space, and around this time last year, I was only making $2,000 a month. And I was putting in like solid 12-hour days. I would be going to sleep till like 3 a.m. in the morning, just working my butt off. And that's, I think, that's the mountain that beginners have to climb. It's just this massive, massive hill. But once you kind of get past that hill, once you have a few testimonials, once you know how your outreach method works, then it's all just it's just sliding down the mountain at that point. Because now I could do nothing for my business for most of the month. I could spend maybe 1 or 2 hours a day on this business, and I'd still make 50K plus per month. And we're on track for more. I just need to go hire some more closers, right? Like if in the next month we're like seriously on track for like 75K plus USD. Like just in the past 2 days we've collected like $95,000. Like, it's just insane. And I that's all the sales side of things. I barely do anything anymore. And so I think just like for beginners, have not only just the start is obviously the hardest part to climb, but once you get past like that 10K month, then it becomes significantly easier and you scale way faster. But having someone also help you out, and like I didn't have Elias back then, but just buying into some form of mentorship or coaching or accountability would be so important, right? And I think the only reason I kind of made it out was because I just had people constantly telling me, hey, listen, because in your head, when you're doing outreach, you're going to think this isn't going to work, this is not going to work. When you're staying up like on your 5th hour of outreach, editing blooms and stuff like that, you're not thinking, like you're probably thinking like, why am I even doing this? And then having someone way ahead of you telling you, hey, listen, I know this sucks and I know you don't think it's going to work, but if you just kind of push through this part, this is the way to success. And I think having that, especially as a beginner, is a massive, massive thing.
Makes a lot of sense, bro. And that's very good advice you're giving. Like, I don't think people realize this, but for example, when they look up what I'm doing with my businesses currently, which I still think is very small, by the way, it's all a perspective thing, but they're looking at what I'm doing and they're thinking, oh, like, I want that as well. Let me just go work hard. Bro, I invested at this point in time over the last 3 years and 2 months about $84,000 just into coaching and mentorship. That is nothing else but info. That doesn't account for all the agencies I've spent money on. That doesn't account for the ads, doesn't account for team, doesn't account for anything, just coaching and mentorship. I spent all my money, like the first 10, 20K that I had in my bank, plus earned a bit, spent all of it consistently before I started making even okay amounts of money. So like, I completely resonate with what you're saying. And the thing is, a lot of the people that I've personally worked with actually sucked. But you have to go through these wrong people to identify who's the right person to work with. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, like, even when I was making like, even when we started work together, like I was technically making the, like, you've made it kind of money. And even at that point I was like, nah, this isn't good enough. And so I put like pretty much a whole month's worth of my money back into coaching. And just because, like, the more money you invest, the better coaches you invest in, the more information you get, the faster you scale. And this is just a prime example of that, right? Yeah. And the thing is, right, and like even if like every time I've invested in coaches, I've just, like, it has multiplied my income, not just added to it, it has multiplied it. And so yeah.
I love that. But you know why that also is, bro? Even if you buy a complete scam, even if you wire money and it's just gone and you don't get anything for it, it's like, just because you're willing and able to spend that amount of money, you can also make it, right? One of the major reasons I recently purchased this consulting thing for 40 grand is because I was like, okay, how am I gonna, like, have my clients pay that when I'm not even willing to pay it myself, right? It's like, how can you expect someone to pay you 5K when you've never even invested like 2? Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. So yeah. I resonate a lot with that. It has so many factors to it. It's the energy. It's the fact that you're actually putting your money on the line and not just saying, oh, I'm going to do this. You're actually committing to it. And this is a lesson for everybody out there. Like, you actually need to act like the person you want to be right now. Like, otherwise you're not going to get there. I recently, for example, had a bigger client payment come in, and somehow the transaction got lost or something happened. Money never came onto my bank account, but it's not on the client's bank account anymore. Now, I was telling my sales team, like, guys, like, the money isn't there yet. But then yesterday I decided, like, bro, this is my business. These are my people. I need to take responsibility. And so I paid like 7 grand out of pocket for a project that I didn't see a cent for yet. Like, you need to get into the right mental frame, because when you do that, you're going to realize, like, 7K, it's not really a lot of money in a business sense, right? And yeah, I could go into so many different directions here, but I very much resonate with what you said there.
Love that.
So, yeah.
I love that.
That's amazing. Easy, bro. I only have one more question for you, and then we can wrap it up. If someone was thinking about working with me right now and getting my help to get to the same position you're in, what would you say to them in terms of any advice you can give? Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, aside from the like endorsement, like, hey, work with Elias. He knows what he's doing. He, like, his outreach method, pretty good. Yeah, like, obviously, aside from just doing that, I think what I said before, which is that, like, if you just spend money on mentorship, and like I said, even if it's a complete scam, which in this case it's not, Elias did an amazing job.
I appreciate that.
Even just despite that, you will make your money back. I have never spent money on coaching or anything like that without it, like, multiplying my income. I've always made more money after investing into a mentor than before. And, like, with Elias, your money, like, Elias is like, he knows a lot more than he lets on, which is I think it's something we talk about quite a bit. He knows a lot more than he lets on. And so yeah, like I couldn't think of a better coach especially if you're starting off. Yeah,
I appreciate that a lot, bro, and it really means a lot, not only because you said that. Now it's just I really appreciate the kind words. I truly do. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot more success from here, bro. I appreciate you for coming on, and that's it. We can wrap it up.
Beautiful. Sounds good.
What is up, guys? This is it for the case study interview. I hope you found this incredibly valuable. And if you have any questions about any parts of the video or any general questions that came up whilst you were watching this video, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram personally. My ad will be linked in the description down below. That's it for the video. I'll see you in the next one.